just so that you will be able to rewatch this if I talk about something that at the moment you don't understand or don't have anything, or you need to step away or you need to leave early, you will be able to come back and watch this at a later date if you would like. So I know, like I said, I can talk strictly almost, I'm going to try to keep it to an hour, but I hope not to go too far off into the bandwagon for us. If you do have questions, I ask that you put them in the chat box here. If you're not super familiar with Zoom and don't know where to find the chat box, you can send me an email, and I'll put an email address up here shortly, and you'll be able to send me your question and I will get back to you. It may not be instant, but I will get back to you. All right. Let's get started because, like I said, I have lots that I want to share with you, and I know that you guys are excited. I'm going to take a little bit more in depth, like I said, look at this as over what I did the other night, and when I introduced just what's new, so that because I can talk a long time just about software. It's one of my favorite things. So we are welcoming a new version of embroidery software to the BERNINA family. Okay, we are at version 9. When I started as a BERNINA dealer 18 years ago, we were at version 4. And I will tell you, it's only gotten better, and it's so much easier now than it was then. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to my plan for the next hour is to cover what's new, the changes that have been made. So for those that have current version, looking at what is different between maybe 6, 7, and 8. And second, the one thing I can't do is type and talk at the same time. Component changes, interfacing, icons, what's new within the software. Plus, we'll talk about if you already own software, what do you need, looking at what you need as part of computers and hardware and things along that line, so that you can make sure that you are ready to go when it hits the market for you. Okay. So we are back to 1. We have 4 possible levels of version 9 software. Okay. We're going to start with ArtLink. ArtLink is free. Okay, it's our free software, gives you basic editing. It's pretty much gives you the same features that you could do right on the machine screen. So you could make it bigger, smaller, you could mirror image, that types of thing. It just allows you to be able to do it on a computer screen from your bed at late night watching TV, or versus having to be sitting at your machine. Okay. I use ArtLink a lot for printing templates. There are no alphabets inside of ArtLink. Okay, it's just for basic editing. This is not any sort of designing software. You can use it to convert designs, open an art file, get it to be an EXP, so that type of thing. ArtLink will be Wi-Fi device compatible, because that will be a big question. You'll just have to purchase the Wi-Fi device by itself, and then you'll be able to use it with ArtLink. We also have a 30-day free trial that will become, that's already available. And I'm going to, give me 1 second. I'm going to get you a link here for those that would like to see it. You, the 30-day free trial is going to give you access to both either the creator level or the designer plus level. You will be able to kind of explore, see what's there. No Corel Draw is installed with it, so you don't get everything, but it gives you a little sampling of what you need to be able to see what version 9 or what embroidery software does. You have 30 days to use it, okay? You can use it as much as you like, export designs. Obviously, you don't have a Wi-Fi device to test that, but for the most part, especially if you are coming from having no embroidery software, this is a great way to get started. Okay. If you currently are operating with ArtLink, i.e. ArtLink 6, 7, or 8, I would go download ArtLink version 9. Okay, it is going to be slightly updated. It will put you through a 30-day free trial of the designer or creator, and then ArtLink will become available for you to use at any time. Then we have our 2 versions. Okay, we have a creator level and we have a designer plus level. Okay, so we have the ability to, you can purchase how much you want. You know, if you're not into wanting to truly digitize in terms of draw your own artwork and scan stuff in, you know, creator level may be just right for you. Okay, creator is going to give you full editing capabilities, but give you just a little bit of digitizing, just a little bit of taste of digitizing. Okay. And then Designer Plus obviously is going to give you everything. So there's a huge list of features. I'm not going to go into everything, but I wanted to show you specifically what comes with Designer Plus. Okay. So Designer Plus, you're going to get everything in Creator plus this list. Okay. So some of the most exciting things that are going to be in here is one, you're going to get Corel so that you can draw your own shapes and things like that. You have multi-hooping, so you're able to split designs into multiple hoops, stump work, layouts, keyboard lettering is going to be huge, okay? And I will show you, especially for those of you who love alphabets, but you hate having to buy embroidery design alphabets, okay? And remember, when you do that, you have to open every single letter and merge them together and line them all up. We now have keyboard mapping of alphabets, and it's just going to be the best. Okay, Wi-Fi device comes with the Designer Plus level. It is an optional purchase with the Creator level. It works with Creator. You just will need to purchase it separately if you decide you want to have Wi-Fi capability. Okay. So what is this Wi-Fi that I keep talking about? Okay, so Wi-Fi connector, what you see here in the image, is giving you the ability to wirelessly transfer designs from your computer to your sewing machine, okay? Making the process seamless. No more USB sticks, no more needing to know how to copy and paste, okay? Things along that line. So what happens is, one second. So this Wi-Fi connector works with your home network, your wireless network at home. So it connects to your wireless network just like your printer, your TV, or anything else does. And that's how it communicates with the sewing machine. So that Wi-Fi device plugs into your machine and stays plugged into your machine. And then you basically pull up the design on the machine, on your computer, and send it to the machine, okay? Without ever having to connect any cables, okay? You can only have one computer connected to the device at a time, okay? So that means that you can't have all the computers in your house connected to the Wi-Fi device. It's one computer. You can have it on multiple computers. You just have to close it out or make sure it's not running on that computer before you open it in another computer, Okay. You can have more than one Wi-Fi device. If you have multiple machines, yes, you can have more than one. Okay. But you can also move it from machine to machine as well. Okay. The first time you use it, it's going to take a moment. It's going to take a little bit longer just while everything gets set up and recognized the first time. But after that, it will work much faster. You can do this designing, sending, or this transfer can be done from either the embroidery canvas or the embroidery library portion of the software, and we'll talk about that. Okay. When you get it, you'll need to set it up before you try to do any transferring. We have to add your devices so that you know it. Obviously, in order for the device to work, you need to have it plugged into the machine, to your sewing machine or embroidery machine, and you need to make sure the machine is on. Okay. Just a few things. Again, it works with ArtLink 9. It comes standard with Designer Plus. It comes with the version 9 upgrade and the version 9 update. Okay. It is an optional purchase for Creator as well as an optional purchase for ArtLink. Okay. It is compatible with all Bernina and Bernette machines with USB ports, except for an Aurora 430 and 440 and a Chicago 7. Okay. And you're going to be like, well, why? Well, the Aurora has to be connected to a computer in order to embroider anyway. So there's no need for the ability to digitally or wirelessly transfer design over because it has to be connected to a computer in order to embroider. Okay. The Chicago 7, the reason for that is something to do with the format transfer, the folders and things, that type of thing. I will get to discussing the differences between all of them in just a few, in a couple of slides in a little bit, but I will go over what is the difference between an upgrade and an update. Okay. You need to make sure that your machine also has the most latest firmware installed so that it will recognize the Wi-Fi device, and all those firmwares will start rolling out here soon. Software is not expected to be available till October. Okay. This will also work on most competitors' machines that have USB ports. Okay. At least everything that's Bernina has tested. We haven't seen a true list of everything that everybody's tested, but it is seems to work on most machines, most other brands. Okay. One big thing, if you are currently a version 8 user, okay, version 8 was the first version we had that had no more dongles. Yay, right? No more having to keep track of that dongle. However, when we went to dongle-less using, meant we had so many licenses, and when your licenses are gone, they're gone. So you got 3. And those licenses, when you left a computer, maybe you got a new computer, you had to take the license off that computer and move it to another one. Or if your computer crashed and you weren't able to transfer it before the computer no longer functioned, you were going to be out a license. And when you were out of your 3 licenses, there was panic. Okay. Well, it just got so much easier. Okay. The software can be installed on 3 computers, but it can only be open and running on one computer at a time. Okay. So you can't share your software with your 3 friends because you're only going to be able to open it on one computer at a time. Okay. We are, it's a web-based sign in and sign out, which means that the computer no longer holds the license. Okay. I can get really detailed, but it's basically when you open the software once every 30 days, you have to be connected to the internet, and it just reconnects and verifies that your license is still active, and it reactivates the software. Okay. Trust me, it's going to be so much better. Okay. And so therefore, it's not going to be necessary that we manually transfer the license from one computer to another. And I can speak personally to that. That made me a nervous wreck. Okay. I was just like following those steps, step by step, in terms of moving the license, copying it, moving it correctly to the other computer. And it just really made me panic. And what happened to me was that I needed to return a computer. And in order to transfer the license, you have to have both computers there at the time. But I didn't have both of them in my hands at the time. So we were dealing with that. So this is going to be so much easier. And this is all accomplished through the file menu. So literally you would go up to file, and right down the bottom, it says sign out and release your license, which means that computer, you can then go to another computer, sign in, and that computer will work with your software will work. Just kind of a rotating seat that you have. Okay. In previous versions of the software, there were chances over time that you could lose a toolbar. Okay. That you would lose a toolbar and then you're like, you couldn't get it back without doing some really funky little steps. And if you're not super, if they're not super computer savvy, it could be a little bit stressful. So they've made it much easier now for you to be able to go and find it. There's an actual setting inside the start menu that will allows you to restore your layout of your toolbars. Okay, much easier. Again, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat box. I will go back and answer them shortly, or I may have a slide that talks about it in just a minute. Okay. Interfacing updates. So let's take a look, okay, at what looks different or what it looks like. First thing is we have a brand new home screen. When your software, version 9 software opens, this is what it will look like, okay? So from this screen, we have the ability to do a few things. We can go directly into Embroidery Canvas. We can open up Embroidery Library. If we want to just look at designs, things along that lines. Tutorials, this is going to link you over to the Mastery, the embroidery tutorials. Okay, so you don't even need me anymore. That's the best part. It's right into the home screen. You click on one of these links, it's going to take you basically to YouTube. Okay. Okay. And then you can watch your tutorials. The help manual is now an online help manual. So technically you don't need to go digging for it and finding the PDF. You can actually just bookmark this and it's there. The one thing about the help manual is, yes, we don't print it. Okay. Trust me. Okay. You would never print this 800-900 page manual. Okay. They used to come with manuals. I think back with version 4 was like the last manual I had was 2 spiral bound books. They were about, I don't know, 800-900 pages. It's not, this is a technical manual. It's not a how-to manual. So this online manual is way better because you'll see that there are in the manual some red icons. So like support, videos. If you click anything that's red, that's a hot link, and that's going to take you to the next section of the manual that talks about that. So maybe you're reading about something and you don't understand what that term is. If the term is red, you click it and it will take you to that section of the manual where it explains that. You'll also find that we have the ability right here on the help screen, the main screen of the help, to download the most important parts of the manuals, which is your reference manual that we use to reference back to lettering sizes and things, but we'll talk about that because we almost don't even need these anymore. So it's very, very exciting. The other thing that you'll find on the online, the home screen is you're going to find direct access to any of the BERNINA webinars that they've done with access to the BERNINA blog, the We All Sew blog, more design purchasing. You can click on it, it'll link you to Embroidery Online, as well as updated projects and things along that lines will be available right from that screen, as well as you have access to recent files and opening files and things. And in a minute, I will change over the screen to the software so that you can see what it looks like. Okay. We have a more neutral color scheme, and I've thought to myself, well, you can't get much more neutral than it already was, but it is a little calmer. I think it's a little easier to see the differentiation between things. The one thing is that activated icons are now blue and not gold. Okay. Blue, not gold. And that's going to, I think it's easier to see than the gold personally. As well as the art grade is now showing again on the front design screen. Okay. They kind of buried it in version 8 and they brought it back in version 9. We kind of had to dig for it. And this art grade comes in handy at knowing the quality of the embroidery design that you are using or that you're getting ready to modify. The lower the art grade, the less modification that you want to it. Okay. So a grade A is going to be your best option, and a grade C or D is going to be kind of a, don't want to do too much to it. Okay. Quilting program. Okay, we have a Quilter program that's in the Designer Plus version, and it got a 4K upgrade, and that 4K upgrade deals with the graphics card and information. Therefore, in version 8, when we dealt with Quilter, we had to squint. We had the world's tiniest icons. Well, now in version 9, your icons have reached their normal size. So no more squinting at trying to see the icons and things inside the quilting program. Okay, very exciting. The other thing that we got in Quilter is we now have the ability to batch upload fabric swatches. Previously, we could only bring in one fabric at a time. And if you are trying to design a quilt in the Quilter program, okay, you may want to import an entire collection because that's what you're designing with. And 30 or 40 times of repeating the same upload function, it gets to be a lot. Well, now we have the ability to upload multiples. Okay. The number that you can upload is going to really, it's what's funny is it actually is based on the file name. So the shorter the file name, the more you can upload at a time, that type of thing. So if you pick like 12 files or 12 images that you want to upload and the software won't upload it, go exit out and grab maybe 6 images and upload, and then that will help but that's really big. So for those that don't have software, the Quilter program is kind of like Electric Quilt. It gives you the ability to, let me back up so you can see, layout. We have a variety of blocks. You can add borders, layouts. You can add embroidery and size your embroidery and your applique to fit your block. So you have the ability to do some quilt designing from inside the embroidery program. You also have cross stitch, and you can design cross stitch designs as well inside of your embroidery software. Our file menu was updated. Okay, and that menu basically just added in some new functions. Open up a backup design. So if your software broke down, if your software shut down, this is where you're going to find those auto backups now, versus sometimes we had to dig for them. Export a cutting file. We actually have an option in the file menu to be able to export SVG files. For those of you that cut with Cameo, Cricuts, or Scan and Cuts, we now have a quick way to export the SVGs to be able to use those machines to cut our fabrics. Okay, very exciting. Okay. We have the option to send directly to the Wi-Fi, and then I have already pointed out that the ability to sign and release licenses. Toolbox. We have 2 new toolboxes. They're not really new tools inside these toolboxes, but they were in version 8. They were inside of the digitized toolbox. We've now brought them out of the digitized toolbox to give us their own toolboxes. Okay, because there's lots more features that we can do inside of them. Okay. Some icon and changes that were made to dialog boxes. We now, our home button. So anytime you're in the software and you want to go back out to the home because you want to watch a tutorial or you want to maybe look at embroidery designs, you just hit the little house. This icon is what we would click, is your quick link to send design via Wi-Fi. And a very exciting part is that we now have the option to rotate the hoop right from embroidery canvas. We do not need to go into the multi-hooping window to rotate and then come back out. Even though we're not going to multi-hoop, it is now, we have 15-degree rotations left and right, as well as a choose your own adventure option. So you can put in whatever degree you want to rotate it there. So that's really exciting. Saving us steps. We have lots of things that have been put into this software, minor changes that are going to make your software, my software users already, so much easier to use. We're a few less clicks to do things that we wanted to do. Okay. And you can also rotate design right there on the screen as well. We have our rotate options up at the top to do in different degrees or a choose your own adventure as well. So much easier. We have some name changes in your icons. We have color match. This is the function of the tool didn't change, but we just have a new icon. And then we have digitize applique. Okay, because we've updated and changed some of these functions in the software. They've given us some new icons. We have icons that have new functions. And so the 2 icons that you see here are the resize icons. And so this is what we would normally push and click on it, and it would change the size of the design by 20%. In version 8 and version 9, that is now a 10% increase or decrease. Okay. That is so you get better results when you are resizing non-grade A designs and fonts. Okay. So you have a little bit more control with that. In the color palette, one of the big things in version 8, it was always hard to tell which color was selected at the bottom. And so now it's now bold. That nice black square around it shows you the active color. So if you were going to draw a box or digitize something, you know quickly which color is going to fill in and things like that. So it is much nicer to be able to tell right off the bat what color is active. I'm really excited about lettering because, you know, that's the majority of us have gotten software just specifically to be able to do lettering and monogramming. Okay, so in the lettering object properties box, and I preach about lettering all the time. One, we've moved select character up higher. So if you need any special characters in your fonts, that type of thing, you can more quickly find it. We have the ability to search our keyboard design collections, and those are the fonts that we have mapped to the keyboard, which I'll explain and demonstrate later. But my most exciting part is this right here. We now have built directly into the lettering box suggested size for these fonts. So for example, this Moly font, it is recommended that it is not to be smaller than 0.4 of an inch and not to be larger than 0.6 of an inch in height. This is worth it in my world, because I deal a lot with people not happy with fonts, especially if you've taken your font and you've gone smaller than the reference. And before, we had to go find that reference manual out there in the help section and download that page and or keep track of where you put it. And so a lot of times you didn't, a lot of us just didn't pay attention. We just did it. And then you were not happy with what it looked like, especially when we go down in size for lettering. Okay. So that's really exciting. You do have the ability to change how the software will start. If you don't like the home screen, not a problem. You come into your general options that's in the software and you can say, when I turn you on, open up an embroidery canvas. Or if you always open up to embroidery library, you can have it choose embroidery library and then go from there. So you kind of have the option to be able to set some adjustments as to how the software will start. You also have the ability to change some things about your font list. When you're in your software a lot, when we go to the lettering object box, when you drop down, the top usually has your most recently used fonts so that you don't have to go hunting for them. You can change that number, and you can also alter the size that the font preview shows in. And I will show you that in a little bit. Okay. Let's look at what's new in version 9. Okay. We have some new editing tools. And again, like I said, I will go over and demonstrate these in a few minutes. Branching, apply the closest join, and weld. And I'm going to talk more specifically about each of them. Okay. So branching. Okay. Branching eliminates the jump stitches between, well, that should be fill and not out and not will. So between fill and outline stitches, okay, it gives us the ability to digitize without regards to stop and start points and traveling and things like that. Previously, in previous versions, all versions software, we had an option called Blackwork Run. And Blackwork Run, you could select all the outlines. The software will determine the best path to follow for those outlines to try to stitch them all in one run or as few jumps as possible. Okay. Branching takes that Blackwork Run function and adds some fill stitches. So if you look at this leaf that's here, if you look at the middle image, and all these dotted lines are jump stitches. So that's sections where your design would tie off a knot, cut the thread, and then jump. Okay. By applying the branching function, what you get is on the right. You can see there is only one jump stitch, basically from center of design to the start, and it embroiders the entire fill and outline of this design in one fell swoop. Okay. There are some pattern runs, sculpture run, blackwork run, and candle wicking that does not work with branching, but it's very cool. Okay. Because that's all we want, right? We all want to be able to eliminate as many jump stitches as possible. Okay. So when you do choose the branching tool, you have to tell it where you want to start and end. Okay. Whereas in Blackwork Run, we just have to tell it where to start. Okay. In branching, some lines may be stitched more than once, but not all of them. Whereas in Blackwork Run, all of them are stitched twice. Okay. So just a couple of little differences between them. So that's going to be very cool for those that digitize. Previously, we had to really think to try to help minimize us digitizing travel stitches and things. We had to kind of digitize in order of where we wanted. Now we can kind of just go all willy-nilly. So applying the closest join is also going to help minimize jump stitches. And so what we have here, the first image here, this dark blue shape, you see a green circle, and that's where the design finishes. And then you see a white cross, and that's where the design ends. In version 9, when you add another object to that embroidery field, the software is going to determine the closest place that the new design should start to eliminate giant jump stitches. Okay, so when I added this light blue function, that light blue shape, you can see that this is where it automatically applied our closest join. Okay, versus going from this point and jumping all the way down to this point, it moved the end point of the design. Okay, now one thing though is if you, that's automatically going to be applied. But if you take a design, you move it, you rearrange, you reshape, you do some things, you are going to end up basically overriding that closest join, and you're going to get jump stitches to reappear. Once you get things situated with where you want them to be, you can choose the objects and reapply closest join. So here I took these designs, I moved them, and you can see this dotted line here became my jump stitch where it moved from the start to the end. And when I reapplied closest join, there's the jump stitch that I have now. Okay. Welding, for those of you that may be in the graphic world or do a lot of designing inside Silhouette software, Brother Scan and Cut, things like that, you may be very familiar with welding. Welding takes two objects that overlap and join them into one. Okay, so we can use a lot of shapes to cut out or create other shapes. So for example, here, this is a red diamond that has these blue circles around it. And when we weld it, what we're left with is this scalloped frame. Okay. One thing to note that this does work with different fill types. The object that is on top, okay, is what the properties of the fill are going to be applied to the whole shape. So let me explain. So for example, this green shield was a satin fill or a step fill. And then this blue shield was a pattern fill. The blue shield is sitting on top of the green one, right? Because it was the second one I brought in. I created this one and then I created this one. And when I welded it, it applied the pattern run to both because that is the shape that is on top. Okay. This was a satin stitch. These diamond dots were satin stitches, is why this finished in a satin. Okay. So weld is really great when you're designing, okay, because you can use, you know, different shapes to create new ones. I mean, that's exactly how you would create a scallop, you know, use a circle to cut out of another shape. You know, you can make rainbows, you can make all sorts of things just by using weld as kind of like a cookie cutter. Use it to cut things out. We have new artwork in version 9. Okay, these artworks are picture images. They are there for you to be able to digitize and things along that lines. Designer Plus comes with 497 artwork files. Creator is going to come with 172, and the trial version is going to have 24 for you to play with. Okay. We also have some new picture images for photo stitching. So we're no longer confined to using the cat that was in version 8. But now we have the, we have a couple of dogs with some flowers that you can play with in Photo Stitch. Photo Stitch, for those that are new to software, is the ability to load a picture image and apply stitches to it to make it look like you thread painted it. Okay, so it's multicolored. The software looks at it, applies like a little stippling fill, just like if you had sat down and you thread painted it on your sewing machine. We also have new artwork. Okay, so these are also picture images that are ready for you to digitize, turn into appliques or filled in shapes. We also have new designs. Designer Plus comes with 930 ready to use embroidery designs. Creator comes with 384, and Trial Edition will come with 45. Yeah, the CDR format that you see in this one is just Corel. That's the Corel format. It's a vector image, not a picture. Okay. So your new designs, we have some in the hoop, some project-based designs as well. We have 6 new fonts. You have basically a couple of hand lettering fonts. We have a hollow outline font, and we have a new micro font. Okay, so we have a new micro script font that is coming inside software. But the big exciting thing is keyboard lettering. Okay, this has been a big want and for our software for a long time. And I'm going to demonstrate it to make sure you understand. But basically, when you buy embroidery designed alphabets, each design is a letter. You're not able to type out on the screen with those designs. Okay. So you now have the ability, we map a design to a keystroke on your keyboard. And so if you had like a dingbat font, okay, and so if you know what dingbat fonts are, they are fonts that are characters or pictures. And I could map the picture of the car to the letter A. So every time I pressed A inside the keyboard design mapping, that font, that car is going to come up. Okay. You save them so that they're there for you to have whenever. It's not like you have to map it every time you're going to use it. And we also have the ability to map from both Embroidery Library as well as we can bulk map from, well, we bulk map from Embroidery Library, and we can do them individually from Embroidery Canvas. And I will demonstrate this. We use the letter M as the reference height. Okay, so I'll show that. It's kind of, they use that. You have the ability to adjust baseline in the character settings or the character spacing. We also recommend that if it's a grade A design, again, you don't go bigger or smaller than 20% of the design size. And if it's anything less than an A, that we limit our adjustment in size to plus or minus 10%. Okay, you can go bigger, but I would suggest that you test embroider it first. Okay, remember, there are 2 types of embroiderers in the world. Ones that test embroider and ones that wish they did. Okay, and so you don't want to put something onto a finished item or a garment or a bag and not be happy with what it looks like. So I highly suggest testing it first, especially if you've never used these designs from maybe this company. You blew it up or shrunk it more than that 10%. I always test it first. You get 5 keyboard design collections that come in your Designer Plus software. So you get this uniquely plaid, which I absolutely love because it is thread that makes up the plaid. You get a collection of numbers, a damask alphabet, this quilted alphabet, and then you get a traditional etched alphabet. This quilted alphabet is really beautiful if you do it in trapunto. Put batting down behind the background fill and then stitch the rest of it. It's beautiful. New pattern fills and outlines. We have 6 new pattern sets. Okay, and so for those that are new, we basically have all the decorative stitches that are on your sewing machine are built into your software. So instead of you sewing those rows and rows of decorative stitches, you can embroider them. And then you don't have to worry about having to sew all at the same speed. Some improvements. You're going to get the newest version of Corel Draw. So with Corel Draw SE, that means special edition. There are some new things inside the special edition. Some of them come into play when we're inside Embroidery Canvas. Some of them are available when you use the Corel Draw program by itself. You can actually open up Corel Draw outside of your embroidery software and use it. I use it all the time to create signage and other things. I use it for my Cameo silhouette, the crickets, all that type of thing. I use Corel Draw all the time. You're going to get back Corel Connect content, which quit working in version 8 because of a Windows update. So that Connect content is back, which gives you access to hundreds of vector images that you can digitize. Okay. Okay. You have the options to add perspective to fonts. You can pointillizer takes things and fills them in with dots versus a solid square type of thing. So there'll be more coming. I can't experiment with any of this because I do not have the new version of Corel yet. One thing that does change, which I'm really excited about, is in version 8, when you open up Object Manager and you look at it, everything says curve. And there's this little tiny squiggle with a color on it. And so it's very hard to be able to tell exactly what the manager is showing you. Well, in version 9, it's actually going to show you the shape. So instead of the squiggle, you're going to get the shape. So it'll be much easier to be able to quickly pull out the design or the part of the design that you want to work with. Applique. We have the ability in our software to digitize applique, which means that for those of you that do a lot of embroidery, that applique are designs that have a placement line. We put a piece of fabric down and then we stitch it again and we trim. We now have the ability, well, we've always had the ability to do that inside of software, but things are a little bit easier. Okay. We have the ability to digitize appliques with holes by their own option now. It's no longer a secondary step that we have to take. We can convert a shape to applique. We click on any closed object, click that, and boom, you have a placement line, you have a tack down, and you have a cover stitch. It's so quick and easy. Combining applique here is going to give you, when you select all the placement lines and the tack downs, it's going to merge them together to give you a more efficient stitch out. Okay. So you'll do all the placement lines, all the tack downs versus having to constantly repeat yourself or having to manually reorganize your designs. And then we also have another link to exporting that cut file, which I talked about earlier. Oops. Which I have another dialogue, another picture of that box here in a minute. They made some adjustments to some settings that when you choose certain things are relative or already set for you. So for example, we have a single stitch cover stitch option. So if you're looking for the raw edge applique type thing, you have, when you do a single stitch, you obviously don't need a tack down and a cover stitch. So those are not active or not available. So they've kind of done some things to try to help make this a little foolproof for us. The applique dialog box has been updated. It works a little bit more like the way that applique is designed. We have our placement lines, we have our tack downs, we have our cover stitch, fabric choices. It's just laid out a lot better for us. We have new tack down options and the new cover stitch options are in there as well. And then this is the export cut file. If you are sending out to be cut with a cutting machine, you would choose SVG here. If you were exporting the cut files to be using this with Cutwork tool, you would drop it down and choose the EXP format. Okay. So much easier than coming in, deleting everything but the placement line, bringing it into Corel, and then exporting it out that way. So nice to have it already built in for us. Some improvements have been made to Cutwork. So previously in version 8, when we went to add Cutwork border, the default border type was a stump work. Stump work is not, we don't use our software quite as much for stump work as we do for Cutwork. And so they've changed the default to cut here. So we don't have to automatically change it. And they've automatically added the run before. Okay. And so when we do Cutwork, we do a run before to stabilize fabric. And previously we had to always go in and add it, even though we wanted it. So they've made things much easier for us. Our dockers have been simplified in Cutwork and improved. Much easier to know what you're working with. Cutwork is cut, piece is when we're designing stump work. We have holes if we're designing holes. And then in the hole option, you have two types of holes. You have the option to create a cutwork hole that has a covered edge and a cutwork hole that has a raw edge. And if what I am talking about makes absolutely no sense to you, don't worry. I will end up teaching you what it's for. But for my ladies that do use this software to create cutwork files, it just got a whole lot easier. We also have the ability to quickly convert any shape to a cutwork with a border. Okay. Much easier to just click a button and everything gets applied for you. Auto digitizing, because this is what a lot of us want our software for. We want to be able to create our own embroidery designs. We want to be able to take a picture image and turn it into embroidery. Yeah. Improved algorithms have gotten much better so that your results are better. Okay. The newer JPEG formats that are out there in the world now in version 8 didn't work so well. They turned colors, or you'd get an error message in version 8. In version 9, those formats work. And one step that a lot of us always forgot when we did auto digitizing is to go and add pool compensation. And pool compensation is counterbalancing the embroidery shrinkage. So we overlap the fill and the outline just slightly to take into account possible fabric shifting and shrinkage. And if we didn't do that when you did auto digitizing, then sometimes your outlines wouldn't line up or things wouldn't fill in correctly. It's automatically added here and has been improved. So again, pool compensation's added. The amount of pool compensation that's added is based upon the object type, the size, the template you're using, and the fabric that you have selected in the software. You can change it to whatever you like, but the software is way smarter today to be able to give us pretty much exactly what we need. And we don't have to remember to go do it. Your monogram docker's also been updated with the suggested reference range height for the font that you plan to use. So no more needing to find that guide. I'm so excited for this. I literally dealt with an issue on Saturday afternoon with someone trying to embroider small lettering on a hanky. And that lettering that she had chosen, the default height for that lettering was to be at least a ½ inch tall. And she had shrunk it to below 1/4 inch tall and couldn't figure out why it was one big ball of knots. So we have the ability to create custom monogram templates now. We don't have to use the ones that are built into the software. We can make and design our own. So this is that welded shape that we created earlier. Okay. Some improvements to reshape. So for those of you that have been around for a while, how many times have you tried to grab a start and end point and move it out of the way, and you end up grabbing a control point? And that control point is going to end up changing the boundaries of something. Okay. Now, when we are in reshape, when we get to a start and end point, so this green triangle or the red cross, the cursor will move to a hand. Okay. And that hand lets you know that you have grabbed a hold of the start and end. Okay. When your cursor becomes a 4-directional arrow, that lets you know that you have grabbed a hold of the control point, and you can now change the shape or the stitch angle that you're trying to adjust, and don't accidentally. It's one of those little things that just really bugged me when I did it, but now this will be much easier. I'll know exactly if I have a hold of the right thing or not. Your thread charts have been updated. Okay. The Isacord Shades thread chart is back. They had taken it away. They brought it back. So it is in order by color shade, not numerical. Okay. So if you're looking for a red, you can go and see all the reds in one location. Red, green, and blue values have been improved for DMC cotton as well as for Madeira. And because of that, your color matching should be a little bit better. And the thread charts have added back in the discontinued threads. The discontinued threads are noted as being discontinued so that you don't use them unless you own the discontinued thread color. Okay. But it is back in the software for you. Okay. So a lot of the questions that I've been seeing is requirements and the differences between updates and upgrades. So let's talk about that for 1 second, and then we will look at software, I promise. Some of the main requirements for our software. Embroidery software is a very resource heavy program. Any graphic software is going to be a very resource heavy, okay? Meaning that it's going to use a lot of your computer parts and processing and hard drive and RAM to be able to generate what you're asking for it to generate. So since the version that we're currently in, which is 8.2, some space and processors and things like that have changed. Windows 10 with the latest updates are required. Okay, so the one update that just came out the other day, which is like 2HN1, I think, will work with version 9. I'm working with the one step down from that last update because I don't trust that update yet. But if you are working on Windows 8, 8.1, version 9 is not going to work with that version of Windows. The Ryzen graphics processors are now officially supported. Apple computers using the new Apple M1 processor is not supported at this time. Okay, so these are the newer Apple computers that are using this new processing chip that's in it, and it's not cooperative at the moment with BERNINA embroidery software. And only Apple computers that have Intel processors that meet the minimum, have Windows 10 installed with Boot Camp or virtual machine with Parallels or Fusion are supported this time. And so if you're an Apple computer owner, that probably makes sense. If you are an Apple computer owner and you don't have this, Toolbox is an option for you. Toolbox does not give you digitizing capabilities, but it does give you some editing, fonts, and monogramming. Okay, so there are options for you. So this is the component list that can be found up on BERNINA's website. The suggestion is if you are buying a new computer, that you lean more towards the recommended or more in the settings. Okay, that way, if you go towards the minimum, it's very likely in a year or two that computer is really going to be outdated. Okay. And you're going to be buying a new computer, and not just for embroidery software, but for most software programs that are out there. Okay. It will be compatible with Windows 11. Okay. When it gets here, but it will work. Okay. Just so you can see the 30-day trial, what you get compared to what you would get with full version, which we kind of talked about. So if you own the following items: version 6 editor or version 7 editor plus, version 6, 7, or 8 designer plus, you're going to buy an update. Okay. So an update is going to take you from whatever version you're on and move you to version 9. Okay. It's going to give you version 9 designer plus. So my editor plus owners, listen to me carefully. This is your time to update. They are actually taking you up one whole level and not charging you for it. Okay? Because traditionally, you would go from editor plus, you would have gone to creator, and in order to get to designer, you would have had to buy an upgrade. Okay? And that's looking at, over $1,000. They are allowing you to go from the editor plus version all the way to the designer plus version for the update price. Okay. So that's what an update does. So an update is going to take your current version that you have and move it to version 9. Okay. Upgrades are if today you buy version 9 creator and in a year you want to go to Designer Plus, you would buy an upgrade. Upgrades move you up a ladder. Updates move you vertically or horizontally, however you want to think about it. Okay. So this just shows you version 6, version 7, version 8, version 9. If you are a version 5 or lower user, I'm pretty sure you're probably not using your software unless you've got a really ancient computer that still turns on and functions. Because those softwares are not going to be able to be updated at this time. So you will have to start with a new version. Start out clean. So that's why I'm highly recommending, if you are on 6 or 7, that you take the opportunity to update now, because when version 10 comes out in I don't know how many years, you're probably not going to get this offer. Okay, so I highly recommend that you just jump on it. Okay, I think that was the difference between an update and upgrade. So if you already own software, you're going to buy right now, nobody needs an upgrade. Okay. Right now, if you own any Bernina embroidery software, you need an update. Okay. Only people that need upgrades are those that have bought version 9 Creator. Okay. So just to give you an idea, that's the cost. Okay. And the same deal that I talked about on the live earlier with the pre-order still exists. Okay. So if you do have questions, please, again, drop them in the box. I'm going to go back through them here in a minute. I've tried to hit some of them as I was talking about it. I'm going to switch over to the software so that I can kind of give you a little preview of what it looks like. Okay. All right. You are now looking at the home screen, okay, of it. Oh, the pre-order deal is if you pre-order by the end of the month, July 30th, you get $100 off. Okay. So you're now looking at the home screen that we have here. Okay. So again, like I said, if you want to open a new design, you want to open a design that already exists. These are the most recent designs that I have used. In software, tutorials, my profile in terms of my account, and things like that. Okay, so I'm going to, let's just say we're going to open a new design. Click on new design. Hopefully everything opened up and you're looking at the screen with a hoop and everything attached. So for those of you that are familiar with embroidery stabilizer, oh my goodness, embroidery software, this will look very familiar. Okay, there's a comfort to it, right? I'm going to show you how to create an applique. Okay, and we're going to just work through this little design right here. So this is a picture image. This is actually a vector image. This is one of the new designs that comes inside the software for you from Gabby Seberg. So I'm going to take this design. It's just a picture. It is not embroidery. I could send this to my machine and it's going to be a blank screen. Okay. So we need to digitize it. We need to turn it into embroidery. So I'm going to go to the auto digitize. And I'm going to go to the option called Instant Digitize. And with a click, now I'm embroidery. Okay. Now we can make changes. We're going to make adjustments and things to that. We don't have to take it in the way that it was digitized, but we're going to fix it. I'm going to get rid of one of them because I'm going to work with creating and fixing one design, and then we can copy and paste it and make it another one. And that way we're not having to do everything twice. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and this is the picture that's in the background. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the picture so that it's out of our way. And I want to turn this design into an applique, right? Because I don't really want to that's a lot of stitching in an area. This design right now is about 2 inches by 4 inches in height. So I want to applique this. I have some really cute fabric that I would rather this be. Okay. The first thing that I have to do with this applique is I'm going to get rid of any holes. And so if you look in color film over here, and so color film is running down the right-hand side here, think of color film as the stitching order that's going to happen. This is what would show up on the bottom of your screen that told you to put in this color because this is going to stitch. I look here at the oven mitt, you can see that there are holes cut into the stitching for these stars. I want to get rid of those holes, okay, because I don't need them when I'm going to applique. So I'm going to go into my edit toolbox, and I am not my edit toolbox. Yeah, remove holes. Sorry, wrong one. Going to remove the holes, and you can see in a click of a button, they're gone. We are going to click on the applique toolbox, and we're going to click on convert to applique. You ready? Boom, it's an applique. So if you look over in color film, here's my placement line. Here is my tack down, and here's my cover stitch. Okay, that quick. Now we need to make some adjustments here. So for example, this little guy needs to be made bigger so that it fits the edges of our design. We can move things, make adjustments, however you like. That's there. Okay. We can add some stitch angles to fix some stuff. I'm not going to go into too much detail and depth because I don't want to overwhelm you. But if this was good, I was happy with this, I could select everything here. I'm going to copy it, paste it, and then I'm going to mirror image it so that I can grab a hold of it. And now I have 2. So just like that, I have 2 oven mitts that are going to be appliques. But if you look at color film, what's going to happen is we're going to applique all of one mitt, and then we're going to stitch the design at the bottom. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to applique and stitch the other mitt. If I grab a hold of the 2 sets of applique, okay, I can come into the software and click combine applique. I'm going to answer yes here because it's going to break it apart. And boom, click of a button. My 2 placement lines are there. My 2 tack downs and my 2 cover stitches are all going to stitch at the same time. I could even go as far as merging all the other color stops so that they would stitch at the same time. Okay. Quick. You could, if you wanted to export a cutting file for this design, you can go up to File. You can click Export Cutting File. Tell it I want an SVG of the embroidery shape. Tell it where to save it and hit export. And boom, your SVG files are there. Open them up inside your Silhouette software, cut it out, and you're ready to applique. No trimming in the hoop necessary. Okay. Quick. Now, let's look at, I don't want to save that. Auto digitizing, just like we did before. Grab your design, go to auto digitize, instant digitize, boom. Digitizing is done. We can come in, for example, here, if we look at, we look at the bottom of this, that stitch angle is kind of funny right here. And we can fix that. So if I grab a hold of that, I can go into edit and we can add stitch angles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and tell the software exactly which direction I want my stitches to follow. And when I hit enter, you can see that that's changed. No longer are they long and funny and angular. We can fix things. So for example, I can grab a hold of this little guy. We can change it. Let's hide the bitmap so you can see. Change its fill. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do to make a basic embroidery design that's pretty flat, all filled with step fills, and you can jazz it up a little. We have lots of different pattern fills and step fills and things along that lines to do. Welding, okay, just so you can see the magic. Here's my square, here are my circles. If I select, let's change this circle to a different color, just so that you can see how easy it is to digitize. I'm going to pick up the circle tool. 2 clicks, I have a circle. You can make it any size you want, make it bigger, make it smaller, change its color, change what it's filled in with. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this one. We're going to grab everything here, and then we're going to choose weld. And if I go in now, I can come and say I want it to be a satin outline, and boom. From those 2 basic shapes, I now have a perfect scallop frame. I don't have to spend the time trying to figure out the math to be able to turn a corner or get my scallops all even. Much faster and fabulous. Okay. So let's look at keyboard mapping, because that's really what I want to share with you guys more than anything. So in keyboard mapping, if we go into Embroidery Library, so Embroidery Library is going to give you the ability to look at all your embroidery designs without having to open them all. You can print templates from here. You don't even have to go into the software. You can come in here and you just say, send right to the machine, and you don't even have to open it. So it's great to be able to, we all collect designs, and sometimes it's hard to see them all. So it's much nicer from Embroidery Library. So when I get into Embroidery Library, I'm going to open up the keyboard collection. So let me close that here. And this is going to pop up here on the side. This is one that I just did. And I'm going to click on New. And I'm looking at the design. I've opened up the design alphabet that I want to import. Okay, I'm going to go to the letter M here so that I can see the size of my letter M. Remember, the alphabet requires you to kind of have a reference height, and they remind you which letter you're going to use. So if you open up the file, show the design alphabet that you're working with, pick up the letter M. Over here, your preview will tell you what size. So I'm going to tell it it's 2.42. Now, the box says in millimeters. I am in inches. So I'm going to just add the I in there, and that's going to convert it to millimeters for me. Okay. I'm going to leave everything else fine the way it is. I'm going to click OK. So I am going to map my uppercase letters here. Okay. I've got it named pen alphabet, my uppercase letters, and we're going to clip. I'm going to select my uppercase A. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and select the other uppercase Z. So everything between A and Z uppercase are selected. Okay. And we're going to click the word map. And you'll notice, well, that wasn't supposed to go there. Give me 1 second. Make a mistake, you can remove it. Uppercase letters. A, Z, map. Okay. And so it will map through. Yes. I click the right button, it'll map better. So it's going through, this is bulk importing, and it's assigning the design to the letter for me. Okay. So when I type the letter A on my keyboard, this is the letter that's going to appear. Okay. So if I go back to embroidery canvas and I go into lettering, pick up my lettering dialog box, I'm going to tell it that I'm going to use the keyboard mapping collection. And here is my penned alphabet. And I can type my name. Boom. There it is. So exciting. No more open design, insert embroidery, insert embroidery, insert embroidery, select it all, align the bottoms, figure out your sizing, done. Now I can go in and, because in that collection, there are also lowercase letters. So I can map lowercase as well. So I'm going to select my 26 lowercase letters, select the map A to Z in lowercase, and I'll click. And now it's going to go through and map. If you've got numbers, if you have frames, glyphs, all sorts of things, you can assign them to all sorts of things. You can add as many mapped keyboard collections as you would like. Okay. And so now if I come back here and I type uppercase A, lowercase m and y, now because of the alphabet, I will have to make some changes. You do have the ability to adjust baselines on each letter and things along that line. So for example, on this Y, I can adjust my baseline so that it's more at the bottom of the Y. I may have to retype. Let's try it again. I'm literally playing with this for you guys. I didn't mess with two. There we go. And so you can adjust baselines. You can adjust spacings, things along that line so that you don't have to do as much. Although you can, I could break this apart. If you can't figure it out, you can break this apart and we can then adjust each letter independently. But and you can see the closest join happen. Look, right there to right there, and then right there to right there. Phenomenal. Look at those little tiny jumps that are not going to have to be cut or won't even be noticeable. Okay. So let me answer some questions here. Yes, quilted backgrounds. I know there's a question about quilted backgrounds. So for example, if I add a quilted background, and it's a setting inside the software when we come into quilted backgrounds. Now, granted, this is just a square, but we can grab your design. I'm going to see. Okay, so let's do this one just because he's easier. And I hit quilted backgrounds. We tell it what size square we want. So I'm just going to leave it at that sizing. And you do have the ability to convert between inches and metric. So if I come up to my top here and I say US measurement, when I come back in here, this box will be in inches. You can choose your type. Let's just say stipple. I can change my margins, line spacing, all that type of thing. And it will go through and digitize me the background. Okay. Takes some playing, that type of thing, but okay. All right. Let me go back here. Let's do one thing. Let's do this so that you can see me. There we are. Get the microphone out of my head here. So rotating a design versus rotating the hoop. So you do have the same function in the software that we can rotate designs. So if I grab a design and select it, okay, up at the top, we have 45-degree increments. Oh, hold on, let me just grab everything. I can rotate in 45-degree increments. I can rotate in an increment of my choice. And I also have the ability to rotate based on a control handle. If you don't have any idea what degree you want to rotate, then you can rotate from there. Okay. So one new micro font has been added to the software. So your micro fonts, when you look at your alphabets, go to lettering box, open up the A. Oops. If you look at embroidery and in the software, we have some fonts that have the word small in front of it, and sometimes, well, oh, they may not be in, sorry. We're in the trial version, so the micro fonts aren't there, but the micro fonts are digitized to be like 1/4 inch and smaller. So they are there for that reason, for labels and logos and things along that lines. So they're designated in the font as small. Like there's small Times New Roman. There's a couple of others. There are in-depth. There will be more in-depth software classes. They've come and gone in version 8 a couple of times. That's there, but we'll come back with lots of new classes that can be done. There'll be lots of classes. The pre-order can be done anytime. The $100 savings comes by the 30th of July. Yeah. And then by basically the last day of the month, it's due out in October. What we're currently waiting on are Wi-Fi devices. So as soon as Wi-Fi devices, okay. If I choose different colors for the letters, it will stop between the letters and have no jump stitches. Correct. That is correct. So the question was in lettering, if I make each one of these letters a different color, yes, there won't be any jump stitches because the design will stop. You can pretend to change the thread and just hit the start button again. And that will continue. There will be classes. We'll start with mastery prices, mastery classes again, as well, as soon as we have all that information. I'll give you prices again. Let me hold on one second. I can tell you the price of the Wi-Fi device by itself. 1 second. I just have to find it on a piece of paper somewhere. The Wi-Fi device by itself, the MSRP is $399. So the question is do you purchase from you to get your classes or can we pay? My mastery classes, if the software is purchased from me, my mastery classes will be free. My software mastery classes for version 9 will not go up for free on YouTube like my version 8 ones are currently. Any new mastery class from here on out will be, if you did not buy from me, will be a cost, but you can pay for them. They have it designated, how close to the machine does the computer have to be? Everybody has said, or everything that I have heard is it can be in another room. It doesn't have to be in anywhere in that. As long as you are connected to your home Wi-Fi, and so is your Wi-Fi device, you should be able to send it anywhere you would like. Version 8 installed on 2 computers, one downstairs, one upstairs. Now that I can have software open on both computers at the same time. That, Miss Marilyn, that is correct. Right now you can, but from what I am understanding in version 9, you will not be able to have them both open at the same time. I will get clarification, but I believe that it is one at a time. So installing the software to a new computer, you would just put in the, you're going to create an account here. Hold on one second. When you go through and install the software, so let me talk
about software installation one. So installing version software.
You have to do a couple of things first. You want to make sure that your hardware configuration is what it needs. You want to make sure that you have administrative rights. You want to make sure your updates are installed. You need to turn off all your Wi-Fi, all your security programs, your antivirus, firewalls, and you need to adjust any app browser controls. There is in-depth installation guides available as well that walk you through all of this. Okay. You're going to walk through and install just like you install any other software. Double click on it, answer next, 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 that type of thing. Okay. In the trial version, you're not going to get the Corel installation. You're going to get, it's just not going to do that. It's going to skip forward and you're going to install version 9. Okay. When version 9 is installed with the trial, you're just going to have 2 icons. You'll have the embroidery icon, the software icon, which is the number 9, and you'll have the Wi-Fi connector icon. When you're installing the real version of software, you will want to open Corel first and log into Corel, which if you're already in version 8, you should have a Corel login already when you set up version 8. But when you open up version 9 and you open up the Corel, the embroidery software version 9, it's going to ask you to create an account. You're going to create an account. Okay. Name, password, write it down, save it somewhere. Okay. So that you'll know. Once you create the account, they're going to send you an email. Okay. That email is going to ask for a verification code. In the email, you take the code, you put it in this box, and you click OK. It's going to give you your trial screen. And from inside that trial screen, you're going to tell you how many days you have left. And you can either choose to use Creator or you can choose Designer Plus. Once you get your full version software, you will come in here and you will click Activate with Product Key. And that's where you will put in the product key that you get with your software. Okay. Okay. So, okay. So yes, there's a couple of questions about not being in state, and I am not allowed to ship. It's not, I could lose my dealership if I ship out of state and sell to you when you may have a servicing dealer in your neighborhood. I can only ship technically to those that can drive here to me. That type of thing, but I could lose my dealership. So I know there's a lot of you from other states and I appreciate you wanting to support me. But you know, if you want to buy it from me and drive down here and pick it up, I can't stop that. So yes, you can still take my classes. You'll just pay for my classes if you're out of state. The Wi-Fi connector comes with the update and full version. So Miss Gina, you will be getting the coupon with your machine for full version if you choose, and that will have the connector. So the connector, the Wi-Fi device automatically comes with Designer Plus and the update as well. Miss Kathleen asking about designs from version 8 when you install version 9. When you install version 9, it's going to ask you if you want to merge any extra settings and things that you have from previous versions. It is your choice if you choose to merge them. I would probably leave them separate and then just re-import things like your thread charts or your templates, but you can merge the products together. Okay. It will work on an Artista 730. Okay. If you already have software, no, it will uninstall everything as part of the previously. Okay, so it will get rid of any older versions and move it in, but you will not lose your design folders and things along that lines. Okay. I don't have a price for classes yet, but everything will be soon. As soon as I know software will be out and about, I'm working on it. Yes, you can upload designs from the internet. Yep. Just if they're downloaded to your computer, then you can pull them in, you can insert them. Okay. It's Pam asked, do you use software inspiration with Debbie or to create your own? I do both. So I use the Bernina Community Studio, which is the software inspiration lessons that Debbie does. But if I do that, you don't watch the video. I give you the link to the video, but we actually work through the lesson live together. And I also create some of my own. How many mastery classes in my series? I haven't seen, I usually base it on one, I look at what Bernina does in terms of how they break it down. And then usually I add extra ones because they usually have a lot of things grouped together and it can be extremely overwhelming. So I usually break it out. I think version 8, I think Bernina had it as in 3 booklets, and I think I taught it in 6 different classes. Oh, thank you, Miss Nikki. Yeah, if you need a mastery lesson, I would suggest that, especially on a sewing machine, they are up on YouTube right now for free, and the first 2 lessons in Embroidery 8 software are up there for free as well. The world got busy and I couldn't get the other ones finished. Well, the world got chaotic. I'm not familiar, Miss Deanna, with Simply Applique, but it probably is very similar to that. We've had Applique for a while. They've just updated it inside software, made it a lot easier to do. Okay. And I think that's, oh yeah. So the other question was, when you sign into your software, when you log in, you'll log in with your name and your password. Make sure you keep that keep me signed in box. If you don't keep signed in checked, you're going to be required to be attached to the internet before your software will open. If that stays keep me signed in, you will not need to be attached to the internet to work with your software. Okay. You do have to connect the software every 30 days or the software won't open. It will tell you that you need to connect to the internet. So if you work on a computer that doesn't stay connected to the internet, you can just log into your internet, do your connection, and then you can disconnect from internet. You just need it there to that. So it's not going to break your software. If it's 40 days before the time you last opened it, once you get in, you'll be required to sign in. It will communicate with the cloud to make sure that you only have it installed on one computer, open on one computer and that type of thing. So it's not going to make your software expire or anything. It just requires an update. So if any of you are currently work with Toolbox does the same thing. It just makes it so much easier for keeping up with your license. Trust me. It's really been a nightmare with version 8. But yes, but you no longer, for those of you in version 6 and 7, you're going to get rid of dongles. No more dongles that you have to keep track of. No more dongles to have to worry about when you lose it and there's ultimate utter panic because you can't find the dongle, and there are no replacement dongles unless we have an old dongle to turn in. So yeah, so it's much nicer to have no dongles. All right, well, I've talked enough. I hope that has answered some questions. I do wish all of you lived closer, and I do wish I had the ability to ship, but I don't want to lose my Bernina dealership, so I will abide by the rules for this. So, but if you have any questions, again, feel free. You can email me, and I will put it in the chat box too, at materialgirl@verizon.net, and I'll gladly answer any questions. If something, you're thinking about it later this evening or tomorrow and it pops in your head, I will gladly, but I highly recommend that you do go download the trial. If you decide not to buy software, decide not to upgrade, you can uninstall the trial. But at least you'll have an idea if you're going to like it, especially if you are a new item. So yes, Ms. Crinton, buying online will be changing in October. I don't know what is going to be classified under that. I know that accessories are presser feet are going to change and being able to be bought online from anywhere. I don't know what else is classified under that yet. It has not been, it was hinted to us at Bernina University, but they have not told us the guidelines of what's going to be included in that category. So come November, October, I don't know if it's the 1st or the 31st, who knows what will be available, but yes, things will start to be able to be purchased online as well. All right. Yes, including shipping out of state. So it's not going to yeah. So they're going to make some changes. So that we can help you. And from all my material girls that no longer live locally, I can take care of you as well. All right. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you joining me this evening, and I look forward to helping you learn your software soon. Good night.